Hi, welcome to. Oh, I just forgot what we
Or hidden creatures.
Hi, welcome to Hidden Creatures. If you have heard any of this before, you know we're not professionals, as evidenced by the opening this time. Welcome to Hidden Creatures, McFap podcast with father and son. For those of you who are just joining us for the first time, McFap, MCFAP, stand for
Mythical.
Rainy, cryptid,
Fae.
alien.
Paranormal.
Yeah. So it stands for all those things. And in our episodes, we alternate episodes between doing dives and research into more specific creatures. And sometimes and then when we're not doing that, we're interviewing people. So today we're interviewing Travis, and we're pretty excited because he has some stories about what we refer to as the property. And if you've listened to some of our earlier podcasts, both Rainey and I have had some experiences on the property, different experiences. And we know a lot of people who have had a lot of very interesting and unexplained things happen out there. So with that, and Travis, you were out there like
6.5 years,
like 15,
6.5 years.
Yeah, 6.5 years. So time for some experience.
Yeah. So I know the listeners have heard about the property, and I've spent a lot of time out there, a lot of hours, and it's definitely not like any other place in the woods, I guess. Give a little background. I've spent a lot of time in the woods. I won't go into a lot of detail, but you just have to go with that. I've had a few people call me Shrek because I really like swamps and wetlands and bogs and all that kind of stuff. And so I spent a lot of time in the deep, dark places. But the property has its own unique feel to it. Bo has given descriptions of it on past episodes about the lay of the land, and it's like he says, it's fields. It has some woods, and it has some little hills and a holler, as he called it. And I think a lot of what I will have to say comes out of the holler. And without going into a lot of detail, there used to be some meetings down there, and pretty quick I started avoiding them. And so I think he might remember that. But I definitely had a lot of experiences come out of there, and probably the one that was super memorable and actually kind of trickled out into the ears of everybody all the way back to some pretty high up people, I guess. I was out there one night sitting near the guard shack that Bo has referenced before. I had a big fire going. That was kind of my deal. And I had a couple other staff people with me. All of a sudden, I don't know what time it was. I want to say probably somewhere in the 3 a.m. kind of category. Everything went silent. And if you ever spend any time in the woods at nighttime, there's always some kind of noise, at least in my experience. There's insects, there's raccoons. You can hear things crunching, even the occasional bird moving around, that type of thing. And so used to always kind of have a background noise, and it went completely silent. And I picked up on that. I had never quite felt like that, I suppose. Like, you kind of feel like something's watching me. Like, there's something out there that has everything's attention, including the insects, you know. And so I waited a few minutes before I mentioned it, leaned to the person next to me who I trusted a lot, and I said, "What do you hear right now?" And she said, "Nothing." I said, "Do you feel like that's a problem?" And she said, "Yes," because we weren't used to hearing zero noise. So we sat there and kind of clocked it, and you begin to realize there's something out there that has everything else's attention. They don't want to give away where they're at, which is not common for that spot. I mean, there's always some kind of noise. And so we clocked that probably about 2 hours or something, and then started hearing noises again, and kind of morning noises, birds, different things. So during that couple hours, I started making a torch, like a traditional torch. I made a big stick, and I stuck it in the fire, chopped the ends of it. It looked pretty good. And I started walking around, and for lack of a name to give the lack of noise, I called it Bigfoot. But don't really know what it was, but it was definitely something that made everything else in the woods scared. And I'll say it was a little unnerving for me just because of just
Oh, hold on. We lost.
Okay.
I can't hear you.
Can you hear me? So
Okay.
in that area, we were just atop that holler, as we called it, and just that silence. And so then it kind of put me on a quest for looking for whatever that was. So I spent some time doing that, and apparently people caught wind of it. And so someone that had confronted me about it. It was kind of funny, but I became the guy looking for silence, I guess. I don't know. But whatever's in the woods there that causes everything else to stop. And so that has always been an interesting thing to me. I don't really have an explanation, though I'm not an expert, but it's definitely a time that's very memorable to me where I've never experienced that anywhere else, where it's just complete silence in the woods, nothing making a noise.
Yeah, and I mean, like you said, out there, there was always noise. Whether
it's constant.
Yeah, crickets or the tree frogs or owls, or there was always noise.
Skunks.
Yep.
Yeah.
Raccoons. Just all kinds of stuff. Yeah.
Do you want to go to your next one?
Sure. Yep. So similar location, actually probably sitting about the same spot. This is a different time, but that general area. So I'm sitting there, it's nighttime again. Couldn't give you a time, but definitely, when other people wouldn't be awake. And so could pretty much guarantee that. So anyway, the people who needed to be asleep were asleep. People that need to be awake were awake anyway. So one of the staff people said, I'm going to go up to the main part of the property and take care of some stuff that we needed taken care of. And so there was a little bit of light down there. He disappeared into the darkness up around the corner. Heard a noise I've never heard before or heard since. The only way I could describe it is maybe a pterodactyl. And I've never heard a pterodactyl, but if you could picture what that would probably sound like. I can't imitate it, the volume or the noise or anything. So I'll have to leave that to your imagination. But anyway, so the noise came out of that holler. Of course, everything kind of went quiet again. I turned to the other staff person that was with me. I said, we might need to consider that we lost one. And she agreed. And not long after I said that, he came on the radio and he said, did you hear that? And I said, I tried to be as calm as I could. I said, yes, I did hear that. He said, okay, I'm about to go in the building up here on the property. And when I'm finished doing what I need to do, will you come get me? And I said, no, you're a grown man. And then turned to her again and said, we may lose one. And, it gets kind of dark on the property sometimes, the humor.
Oh, it gets real dark.
Yeah.
And so yeah, I was honestly concerned about that. It's just not a noise. I can't even duplicate the noise, but it was just a terrible noise. And so that continued my quest to find what lives here,
Yeah.
And so...
Well, and I'm going to interrupt you real quick. Yeah, like my first experience out there when the thing pounded hard enough on that guard jack to make it shake and took off running, it's not a sound I had ever heard before and not a sound I've ever heard since.
Yeah.
And the noise I made, it was weird, not just because it was a sound I'd never heard before, but it was like low pitch and high pitch at the same time. And it was like guttural.
Mm-hmm.
It was this guttural, low and high pitch combination thing. And I can't explain it better than that. Realize that that is
there isn't a description. And I always just said
how
what you would think a pterodactyl would make just because.
But it was.
Nobody knows.
So I don't know. So I don't know if what you heard was anything like that, but
it gets ingrained in you, I guess, and just without giving qualifications or whatever. But you and I separately have spent who knows how long in the woods, right?
A lot of time.
So and I've come across all kinds of creatures in that particular state, even some that don't belong there. And I know you have too, but it wasn't anything that I'm familiar with. And so definitely I wouldn't even call it's not even a fear. It was just more of a wonder, I guess, like what is going on. You know? So fast forward a little bit, I would go down in that area sometimes during the day to work on things with a group of people, and we'd work on different things down in there. And so just come in contact with animals that were identifiable, but just weird. So like one time we're down there, we're making a good bit of noise and we're using some equipment and stuff, not just hand equipment. And catch out of the corner of my eye, there's like armadillos walking toward us, right? And by the way, sometimes I pronounce things. I have several accents in my head. So different ones come out at different times. So anyway, we're down there, group of people, and I'm like, why, and armadillos are not that in tune with what's going on. I think, you probably know that, but still there's 4 of them and they're coming during the day. And I'm like, if this gets mixed up in this group of people I'm with, it's going to cause a problem. I mean, right. So I'm like, go. And then I walk toward them and I'm like, get. And so they kind of take off to the right, but they disappeared like that, in that area. I think you described, I can't remember how you described it, but it's kind of like old growth. It's not a ton of underbrush like you would normally.
Yeah, very little underbrush. Like there's some like grass down there, but it's not.
Right. And so the fact that they, and a couple of people I did see them like, what is that? And I was like, it's just armadillos. But it was just like, sounds weird probably, but just like coming to make contact. You know what I'm saying? Like, and you're like, just go. So down there again, a different time, different group of people. And the group of people gets my attention and they're like, I don't know, and it was a Texas horned lizard. I don't know if you've ever seen one of those, but
not out there, but yes.
Yeah. Not a place you would see a Texas horned lizard.
No.
But that's what it was. Like, wasn't like I was like, oh, maybe it's this, or maybe it's they're ugly. They're ugly and they're tan and they're ugly. And I was like, what in the world? And so I was like, everybody just step aside. One person had their back to me. It ran up his leg, the back of his pant leg, ended up crossways on his belt and stayed there. And people are screaming. He's oblivious to what's happening. I'm like, you know the circumstance, the people you're with.
Right.
You're like, I mean, you don't want to hurt the thing, but still you're like, got to get that thing off. So I go toward, and then the thing jumps off and runs off. And I'm like, okay, that shouldn't be here. Not just because, and people, from what I understand, people release some different things, but they like sandy, deserty type areas. I've heard that there's a bunch on the coast of the state we were in, that kind of stuff, but not in those woods.
No.
It's not a great habitat for them.
Right.
And so then you began to think, all right, these are recognizable animals, but just making contact. And I already had a little bit of the energy that comes from that area, and I don't know how to explain it.
It's weird.
Weird.
It's that particular spot. And I'm not like, me, I'm not like super superstitious really. I've heard you talk on the show and you're like, I'm not sure this or this. So I'm not trying to convince anybody of anything because I don't know. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I'm not only am I not an expert, I don't know. I don't know what to tell you. Mm-hmm. I just know that my experiences in that spot a lot of time kept me from going to that spot just because I didn't want any more experiences.
So there was one night, I don't think I've told either of you this story before, but there was one night, and I don't know why we thought this was a good idea, but and I was sort of middle management at this point in time. And we had to go from like sort of that upper part of the property down to the campsite. And we're like, you know what? Let's cut through the holler because it's shorter. We're like, yeah, why not? Let's go through the holler. It's shorter. And so we get down to that the cleared out area, and it was like a bomb went off. And again, I don't know what it was. It could have been, there could have been, because I didn't see anything. I just heard.
Mm-hmm.
There could have been deer down there. It could have been wild pigs down there. But like a couple really big things got up and started making a lot of noise. And so the person I was with, I think he picked up a stick and I tried to make some intimidating noise. I was like, "Roar," like just something. And after everything like calmed down, he looked at me and he goes, "Rar?" And I looked at him, I was like, "You got a stick." He's like, "Well, what's Rar gonna do?" I was like, "What's that stick gonna do?" You know, like we both had this equally silly response to, you know, what we thought was gonna be certain death.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
And
all you can do is make a joke. Yeah.
And so then we got up to the campsite area and we're like, we are never doing that again.
Yeah.
And yeah, you know, and it could have, like I said, it could have been deer, it could have been, you know, wild pigs, it could have been, you know, it could have been a lot of things. All I know is that it sounded huge. And it was not happy that we had intruded.
Yeah.
And I'm going to add one other piece of information about the holler, which I haven't added before. So as you like sort of at the top of the holler, so if you're climbing up out of the holler,
mm-hmm.
there is a sinkhole.
Yep.
And the sinkhole, there was a small pond there at one point in time, and then the bottom of the pond dropped out. Yeah. And so you go down into the bottom of the pond, and then there's about a 25-foot shaft that goes straight down into the top of this hill. And then at the bottom of the shaft, there's a tunnel that goes back into the hill. I've been down in that shaft twice. One was because I just wanted to go down it. And the first time I went down, I walked back into that shaft a little bit. And I got a little bit into it. I was like, you know what? I like the sky above me. And this is a little weird. I just felt like something was off. So I went back up and went out. And I was like, cool, I'm never going down there again. And then I had to go down there one more time later on. But yeah, so just a little bit more about it. So the pond that was up there before it became a sinkhole, when it rained a lot or when it flooded, it would drain into that hollow. So it was sort of the beginning of the holler, if that makes sense. And we're going to talk about that sinkhole in a little bit. So
yeah,
just prefacing some things.
So I want. There's a lot of things that you and I haven't talked about, even though we work together and all that kind of stuff. And so, but there are things that we shared experience. And I don't know if you remember one time you called on the radio about something I think your dog had found. And I came down there and it was a skull of a deer and it had the whole backbone. Do you remember that?
Yes.
Okay. And you recommended I not pick it up, but I did anyway. I don't know if you remember that.
You're like, is this what became the watcher in the tree?
Exactly. Yes. I was so intrigued that they were still intact. It was a skull with the entire backbone.
Yeah, because so that, like, you don't find that very frequently.
No, that's not. Anybody who spends time in the woods, it's pretty unique.
Right.
Because it didn't really have a ton of flesh on it or anything. So, but yeah, I hung it up in a tree at the top of that hill where the holler was behind it, right? And so it's just a unique thing. I'll be honest, there was a little bit of me that was like, yeah, we call it the watcher, but it was kind of like, I don't know, maybe this will protect us from whatever's down there. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And sometimes I would just shine, you referenced the big spotlight. Sometimes I just put the spotlight on it, you know, so everything could see the watcher. But yeah, so yeah, I just remember you saying, yeah, I don't know if I'd pick that up. And next thing I know, I got it.
Yep.
But and I've got one more animal story out there. So this one actually, again, like, you know, however anybody would want to explain this away, but I know what a coyote is. I've heard you talk about wolves. You're like, I know what a wolf is. I know what a coyote is. So anyway, but he's kind of at that general area that we keep talking about, a campsite, I guess you'd say. And I'm like, hey, I'm going to wander over that direction toward the property line, check some stuff out. I was really just taking a mental break. So I walk over, it's super windy, and I almost stepped in some pretty tall grass, and a coyote jumped up. Well, normally, my experience, it would have bolted. Instead, it turned and looked at me, and so it was like we're staring at each other, probably an uncomfortable amount of time. And It didn't appear to be rabid or anything, but we're making eye contact. And I'm like, well, there's a lot of people behind me and I need to get this thing gone. So I'm kind of like shooing it.
Yeah. And was this during the day?
During the day.
Oh, okay.
So just at nighttime, it wouldn't have surprised me as much during nighttime, but this is during the day.
Yeah.
So it kind of takes off and then it decides, you know what? It turns again. And I'm talking this. So the first time, less than 10 feet, next time, 20. Mm-hmm. And again, we're making eye contact and we're just kind of, I'm like, I don't know. I don't know what's going on here because you're not acting right, although you're not perfectly healthy looking coyote, which sometimes is not the case in that area. But I don't know. And people could explain away, say, dog, it wasn't a dog. But finally, I was just like, it's practically like talking to it. I'm like, just go. You know what I'm saying? Just go. I don't want you around here and causing a problem, right? And so it leisurely wandered off. But the eye contact was uncomfortable. But that it's just peculiar. So I've run into animals in the woods, a bunch of different states, different places, peculiar interactions in that location. Just peculiar.
Yeah.
I just know that it was some of the most peculiar interactions, wildlife that I recognized and something that I didn't recognize.
Yes. Yeah. And so talking about coyotes. So, I ran a farm out there for a couple years and I raised chickens, ducks, and
quail
and turkeys and, all sorts of things. And in one field, I had like all of my egg-laying birds and I had dogs in the field with them. And then in the other field, which had previously been used for horses, that's where I had like my meat birds. And I didn't have a dog in that field. One, because it wasn't like it was fenced for horses, not everything else. So I didn't want them getting out. And like I had the meat birds in big pens, so they were fenced in and secure. And so one early morning I was out there and it was maybe 2:30 in the morning. I was out there and something had pulled the entire back off of one of the pens and had gotten in and killed. So there were two pens side by side. One, the back was pulled off of the pen and something had gotten in and killed every single bird. And then the other pen, something had gotten in and killed them all as well. But the door to that pen had been pushed in.
Wow.
I've always told myself coyotes did it just because that's the easy thing, right? If I'm thinking about it, like there's nothing else out there that could have done that.
Right.
But the reality of the situation is that in order to pull the back off of that pen, it would have had to have been something big. And in order to have pushed that, like the door in, it would have required some critical thinking and some movements that coyotes don't typically have. So yeah, just bizarre things happened out there.
Yeah. Were you there during the cat time when there was a feral cat just wandered around the woods up there?
I know my dog at the time killed feral cats.
Okay. Well, there was one that could escape the dogs out there.
Okay.
And just looked horrible. Like it was missing all the hair off its tail, all that stuff. Because the dogs would almost catch it. There was some big dogs out there for a while. And the cat would show up. I would come on the property and it wouldn't be long and the cat's sitting there looking at me and eating a chipmunk. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And almost every day the cat would find me somewhere. It would find me somewhere and it would sit and eat a chipmunk like day after day. And you're just like, this is the weirdest cat. So one of the guys, he's going to rescue this cat. So he took it home to his apartment. One of the people that worked there took it home to his apartment. He brought it back within probably 48 hours. And he was like, the thing almost tore my apartment apart. And this ain't feral cat. So he's trying to domesticate this thing that's been living off chipmunks, But I always wondered about that cat, man. I was like, you hear the term 9 lives, and you're just like, man, this thing's been through it. Like, it would just kind of stumble around, like all beat up. But yeah, he was on a mission to rescue his cat, and about tore his place apart, I guess. Yeah. The interactions out there with the animals and just the dark cloud of I've tried to think through it in a manner in which kind of pull it apart. I don't think it was emotional. It was just there's something different here.
Yeah.
And when I leave here, I don't feel it. It's like it's
well. And did you ever have any experiences around that sinkhole?
So I was always intrigued by it, and I went in it. But I don't remember because I think you were there. I think you might have asked me if I was willing to deal with it, but the dogs were eating a deer. It looked like the Serengeti. These dogs were just tearing this deer apart. And I don't remember. I think it might have been you who said, hey, you want to deal with that? And I was like, yeah. And so I had to shoo the dogs away. And they were nice about it even. And then I had to drag the thing off. But it was near the sinkhole, which
I do remember, like something had killed it right.
Yes.
Like right on the border of where it starts caving into the sinkhole.
Yes.
Like it was killed.
Exactly. So.
And the dogs did not kill it. They found it.
They're right. They were chewing on it. Right. But something killed it in that location. No, we used to joke around, you and I and another person, our motto was like, I'll do it. You know what I'm saying? And so I was like, yeah, I got it. And shoot away pretty easy. I didn't know if they would contest and I dragged it off, but yeah, it was right there by the sinkhole. And so it was a little bit weird. Yeah. Cause that was a very open area. It wasn't like woods or anything right there, but yeah, you got me intrigued with where the tunnel goes in the sinkhole.
And so the second time I went down, there had been some cave-ins, so you could still see the tunnel was there, but you couldn't. At the entrance to the tunnel, you could no longer walk into it. You'd have to sort of get down and crawl. And I wasn't even gonna mess with it because I was, not my cup of tea. I like the sky above my head. I like seeing the sun and the moon and the stars and all that. I don't like seeing rocks above my head.
Yeah.
But so, and I believe I believe there was something like that tunnel led to something bigger. Because at night, at night, you could feel it breathing. You sort of walk down. It was like, oh, that's cold. But there was. You'd hit that cold patch of air sort of right by it as you were walking, past it at night. But I do know quite a few people had or saw things around because there was that light post there.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And I know a lot of people saw unexplainable things at that light post because I got a lot of calls about it at night. I got a lot of calls about people on the property at night at that light post. And the most frequent thing that people reported seeing was, and I got out there were two different descriptions of it, but one was a man in a cowboy hat and the other was a man in a top hat.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
And they would often say that the person they saw was leaning up against the pole. A lot of calls about the man in the hat. The man in the hat's back. And you'd go, and when I was out there, I'd go and I could never find, the man in the hat.
Yeah.
And I don't remember ever seeing anything, but like you said, it just didn't feel right.
And without going into description, if you get a call like that, you got to go check and see. There literally might be, so you gotta go check, and then you go, and this is just weird. Well, I'll tell you, I kind of told you I didn't really like going down in there, but one night I decided to go down in the holler, and I was working with a person that won't give their credentials, but pretty impressive credentials, military related type credentials, right? And I went down in there He's not like a superstitious guy either. But I just wanted to go look around, and I felt secure enough that the people had it up top, and so I went down in there.
You felt like you were in good company.
I was in good company. So I'm gonna go for a walk down in there. So I go down and kind of went all the way down and then up to the main part that we're talking about, and then came back. And he said to me, "Are you not scared going down there?" And that was weird that he would say that. And I said, "No, it's just intriguing." And he's like, "You must be the boogeyman." He said, "That's the only explanation. You are the boogeyman." And I said, "No, it's just so a lot of times we weren't comparing stories, because you kind of had circles of people that you talked to about certain things, but he equated that the boogeyman lived down there. And so, but yeah, and he was not a guy that I ever felt like he was scared of anything in particular. Right. So just a peculiar place. I mean,
yeah,
haven't been anywhere like that since or before. And
no,
been a lot of places, like even recently I've been a lot of places where there's wildlife and stuff, and it just an interesting place.
Rainey, do you have any questions?
No.
Okay. Well, if you do, just pipe up. Okay.
Okay.
It's just, I mean, really, unless you've spent a good amount of time there, it's an intriguing place.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah. So I think intriguing place is definitely the way to describe it. Since then as you know, I live a long ways from where you're at now, but coming by the property, I just like, man, should I ask to stop by, or do I want to deal with that? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like,
Well,
I don't know. I haven't been out there in a long time, but
if you ever want to go out there, like I still have access to it.
do you?
Yeah. And I had to go out there a couple weeks ago, just check on things, make sure everything was okay. And like the longer that it's uninhabited, the creepier it gets.
Really?
Yeah. Yeah. Cause I was out there, like I said, a couple weeks ago, and I had to be out there for a couple hours, just, cleaning some stuff up and doing some maintenance and stuff. Yeah. I did not like it.
Yeah. Did you ever come across that dump? It's on the edge of the property. Somebody lived there. There's an old chimney.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Right in the tree line, there's a dump site.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I always wondered, like, okay, I know the 6.5 years of history I was there, but like what went on before that?
Yeah. So,
Like,
yeah, no. So I do have some history of it. So where that field where that chimney was, that's where I kept all my egg laying birds, and I had a bunch of beehives out there too. And we cleaned up that dump site and got most of that stuff out of there. So on the other side of the road, there was that deep ravine. I don't know if you ever went into that ravine on the other side of the road. So there's a year-round spring for it down in the bottom of that ravine.
Yeah.
So during Prohibition, one of the only legal whiskey stills in the United States was down in the bottom of that ravine.
No way.
And they sold whiskey directly to the U.S. Army.
Okay.
And there's and I have the the well pump. I have the well pump that was down there.
Oh wow.
Yeah, I pulled it out, and there's an old beat up car like down in the bottom of it. So this reminds me of another just weird thing. So, and it's a funny story going into it. So I had a couple goats out there. I had 3 pygmy goats. It was a mom and her 2 kids. And I ended up trading the 3 goats for 4 donkeys. And the donkeys were all, I mean, they were pretty feral, never handled, like they were just wild. And so it was 2 male donkeys and 2 female donkeys. Went to get these donkeys. The guy's like, I don't know anything about them. Like, somebody dumped them here. I've had them. I don't want the donkeys. I want goats. So I was like, well, here's the goats. I'll take the donkeys, whatever. And so like no information on the donkeys at all. And then about 3 weeks after I got the donkeys, one of the donkeys gives birth. And it was a stillbirth. So, so we were like, what are we gonna do with this large donkey, baby donkey? Um, and I said, well, I'll go throw it in the ravine, and just let the scavengers eat it. And 2 days after I took it over there, it was gone. Like there were no bones. It was gone. And I mean, baby donkeys are like dead weight. They're heavy.
Yeah.
And like I said, there was no bones. There was nothing. I could never find a skeleton down there. And yeah, and I don't know. Again, I don't know what it would have taken a dead baby donkey. Because if coyotes are like munching on it, like they're not going to drag it anywhere because it's too big to drag anywhere. And then a couple weeks later, the other female gives birth. This one lives, and then we're hanging out with donkeys, and then we decide like, you know what, these donkeys are crazy. We're getting rid of the donkeys. So we got rid of all of the adult donkeys, but we kept the baby donkey. Baby donkey was awesome. Like it would like come and like get in your lap. We had a person that would jog the perimeter, and it would like jog the perimeter with the person.
Wow.
Like it was an awesome donkey.
Yeah.
And then and healthy, like there was nothing wrong with it. I had vet come out, like it was just a great donkey. And then one morning I came out there and I saw it like laying down on the hill in the pasture that sort of went into that pond, and didn't look at it, and it was dead. It had no marks on it, nothing. And like it was this healthy growing donkey, and then it was just dead. Yep. Again, just weird. Maybe something. I mean, we didn't call the vet out to come tell us why the donkey died. Again, just more weirdness surrounding the property.
It makes you want, like, thanks for the history, because I always wonder, I'm like, what go, it's just the energy level there is high.
Yeah. Well, and that was the cabin still standing like when you started out there?
Yeah.
Okay. So that
row of one?
Yeah, like the cabin at the chimney.
No, I don't think it was. No.
So the cabin at the chimney was a log cabin, and it belonged to the first person who lived on that property.
Wow.
Built that cabin. So it was all hand-hewn logs. And yeah, so they were the ones who like originally built that, built the cabin, lived on the property. And the property had been used for, various things over the years. So that, that cabin was built, I believe in the late 1800s is when that cabin was built.
Wow.
It had some really intricate, like carpentry work in it. And you could tell it was done by like poles, not, nothing electric or whatever. Like you could tell it was all hand carved, hand done. And so over the years, it had been, it had been a farm, primarily used to raise like animals on, but like they had tried to do crops on it for a little bit. Just the dirt was, it's all just Alabama red clay. So, useless.
Yeah.
So it's just been used as, various farms over the years. Now, I don't know what it was before then, but I mean, just the energy on that property is off. So I don't know.
Yes.
So I don't know if like, some kind of battle happened there. I don't know if people are buried out there in like unmarked graves. Not saying people were like murdered out. Well, I mean, they could have been murdered out there, but family living there since the early, late 1800s, like they had to put their bodies somewhere. So I don't know if they're just like, hey, we're just going to bury them in the woods, or, I don't know, but the energy is off.
Yeah. It's in like, I don't even know if that's the proper term. Like I said, I'm not an expert, but you just, man, it's heavy.
Yeah.
But it just the interact, and I was thinking of this, it just, that's why I brought up the animals. Just the interaction with the animals there is weird. Mm-hmm. Like, and I believe it was you that told me about an emu one time that was out there.
Yeah. The emu showed up out of nowhere. And I was out on a backpacking trip when the emu showed up, and I got blamed for the emu being there. And like I had angry messages on my phone about an emu, and why would I bring an emu out without any, like, why didn't I get permission to bring this emu out there? I knew nothing about the emu. It just showed up. And it showed up in the pasture with the horses. And then and it was there for like a day or two, and then it wasn't. But for the next good bit of time, 6 months to a year, every now and then you would just see the emu running across property. It would just, it's like, oh, there's the emu running across a field. It's like, oh, like, the emu's like, in the holler. It's just, just this random emu sighting for the next year or so.
Yeah, it's just the reason why I brought that up is that someone told me, but I think it might have been you, or there's another person that you and I both know that used to tell stories about it. But anyway, just you don't know what you're in for until you spend some time there.
Right.
Yeah, and like if you're alone, it's worse. Like,
I can imagine.
The feeling is a lot worse.
Yeah. And I've heard your stories, Rainey, and I'm like, I haven't been out there. There was usually a substantial group of people when I was out there anytime. Listening to you guys talk about wandering around out there, there's no telling.
Well, and I want to say, like, before I started taking Rainey out there, I don't think I told you much of like what I had experienced before I took you out there, did I?
I don't think so.
Yeah. So he didn't have in his head like, oh, I'm going to go out there, weird things are going to happen.
Yeah.
It was just he was out there and he's like, yo, weird things are happening and I don't like it.
Yeah, it was like after you're out there for a while, people start coming to you and telling you stuff, and they come tell you just weird things. And you're just like, look, I don't know. And I didn't reciprocate. Most of the time I didn't go into all my stories. And probably some of the ones I told you today were probably new, but just like, you're just like, I don't want to add to the legend, but it didn't surprise me.
Yeah. Well, and I think like, I know like personally with a lot of my stories, like I never really told them to anybody. Like some I shared or something happened with a couple other people. So, we, those people, but we didn't really share it outside of that because it was just so weird.
Yeah.
Like, who's going to believe this thing happened?
That was the other thing that kind of isolated you as a person, because you leave there and you go home to your quote unquote normal life or whatever. And it was hard to connect sometimes with people in outside groups. I would go to group things and hang out with people, whatever, and they're talking, and I'm like, it's just hard to connect with people that when you're there all the time and you leave for a couple days or whatever, the outside world is kind of boring.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Yeah.
Going back to me not knowing pretty much anything about it, like the second I was alone, I was like, when is Bigfoot going to walk out of the holler?
Yeah.
So there was a woman who worked out there for a while, and she had some interesting beliefs. But one of the beliefs she had was, well, it doesn't matter. Anyway, talking about weird animal things. One night, I walked into the guard shack, and she was in there and just dead asleep. I mean, she was in a chair, just dead asleep. And there was a mouse sitting on her shoulder. And it was just, and I walked in and looked at it, and she sort of looked at me like, huh, well, I'm not going to wake her up to tell her there's a mouse on her shoulder. She's not going to handle it well. Yeah. And I can't get the mouse off her shoulder because if she wakes up, she's not going to handle it well. And the mouse was just chilling. And it was like, yo, mouse, like, cool. You have a little hangout for right now. And, and it just sat there and looked at me and it was like, hey, what's that? Again, and mice aren't, typically they see you like they're out.
Yeah.
But it was just hanging out, eating a piece of cheese or whatever. Just hanging out on her shoulder.
You don't leave there and be like, hey, guess what I saw yesterday? You know what I'm saying? Like, yeah. I can't really explain it, but it was weird,
Yeah.
But yeah, and there's so many more things that I know I'm holding back on and you are, but it's like just phenomenal. And the people, some of the some of the greatest people. I mean, but there was one person that you and I both know, and like, I did not know she was like a animal rehabilitator or whatever. And one day there was like something walking around, obviously in her shirt, and it was a squirrel. And you're just like, what in the world?
Yeah.
just you never knew. And I think it's okay to admit this, but like, I remember sometimes just going, I'm too old for this.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's like,
Yeah. So the next interview I have lined up is another person from out there who he pretty much is like, yeah, I saw Bigfoot
yeah.
on the property. So we're pretty excited to get his. But again, like almost anybody you talk to spent any amount of time on there, like they may not have seen something,
but they've heard something
weird and unexplained has happened. Another person we're trying to get on from out there, you know her, loud, very very loud personality. She had almost the exact same experience that Rainey had,
except she didn't try to go outside.
Yeah, and so when I called her and I asked her, I was like, "Hey, did you ever had any like weird things happen out there?" And she's like, "No, just when y'all were messing with me." And I was like, "What are you talking about when we were messing with you?" Like, because she isn't a person we would really mess with.
Yeah.
And so she was retelling this experience again, almost word for word, what like matching one of Rainey's experiences. Yeah. And I was like, yeah, that wasn't us. That was not us.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. After being out there, you kind of want to blame it on something.
Yeah.
You're like, oh, you're messing with this person, messing with that person, whatever is.
So to be fair with your time, we've been talking for about an hour, and I want to be respectful of your time. Are there any other stories from out there that you would like to share?
I think probably the rest of them would be just between you and I.
Fair enough.
Not for broadcasting.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Yeah, so let's go ahead and wrap it up for tonight then.
Okay.
Rainey, do you have anything you would like to say or share before we start wrapping this up?
Don't be like the squirrel.
Yeah. And don't pee in fairy circles.
I don't have any advice, but it was good talking to you both.
Cool.
It was fun.
Thank you all for listening. Thank you, Travis. It was a pleasure. I really appreciate it. Thank you so much.
Thank you, guys.
If you all want to find us somewhere, social media, we really only update and check one, and that's Instagram. So at Instagram, we're at McFap_podcast. And again, McFap is MCFAP. Email us, McFapPodcast@gmail.com, and it's all one word. Yeah, if you have stories, you want to come on, you want to talk to us, or even you just want to share about us, please reach out to us. We'd love to hear them. Yeah, and in closing, thank you all again. And as Rainey, say it one more time.
Don't be like the squonk.
And don't be in fairy circles. We'll see y'all later, or talk to y'all later, whatever we do.